There's going to be an election in Canada this year, and nobody knows whether the Liberals or Conservatives are going to win, and I don't care. I'm not endorsing anybody. But nobody is talking about the real important issue facing Canada, which is that the legal system isn't working. I was a lawyer for 15 years in Saskatchewan at the lower levels, and the corruption was absolutely appalling. You know the saying about if you see a mouse in your house, that means you have dozens of mice, because once you can see them running around, the problem's already there. Well, from what I saw, the mice are in the middle of the living room doing a conga line. It's that bad. It's absolutely catastrophic. But you can't really communicate that to anybody because the courts have arranged themselves in such a way that most of what they do, a huge fraction of the business of court, is opaque. For instance, if you're a regular law-abiding citizen and you have a dispute, say you have a contractual dispute, or you have some kind of a tort that you need the court to adjudicate, just try to get a trial. A trial is the thing that happens in public where they have the recording machine going, everything's out in the open. Try to get that. The court will not give it to you unless you're willing to wait 5, 6, 7 years and pay, the cost of a new house for that. Instead, the court wants to give you all these other, we have these alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, all of which are much more secretive. Things that happen in closed rooms, things that happen that are recorded, but the court keeps the recording. They won't let you see it. So you have a system of judges that are really the rulers of the country. They decide what the law shall be. The people make suggestions. We think this ought to be the law, and the judges say, well, we'll just have a look at that and scrutinize it. And now there's a lot of talk that even Section 33, which is where the people can write in the law, no, we super duper mean this. You don't get to scrutinize this law. This is the law no matter what you say. The judges are thinking about maybe doing away with that. And in Saskatchewan, they're going pretty far with that. So that's the system you have. Those are your rulers. Those are the people in charge. But a huge amount of what they do is totally opaque and in darkness. And that's allowed a huge amount of corruption to fester. Now, the problem has been that legal proceedings in civil law, where I was, for instance, involve a huge amount of documents, a huge amount of information that nobody has the time to read. But now we have these new AI tools that can read anything in seconds, summarize it, quantify it. So you can find out things like which judges are sitting on which cases. If there's a big money case, how does it get dealt with? What are the patterns? AI can help you notice the patterns. It can help you sort out all those unknown unknowns, all the things you don't even know were an issue because you didn't have any information on it. So, for example, if a court is running proceedings, which in Saskatchewan, it does this all the time, it's running court proceedings where nothing's recorded. There's no record of it, or there is, and the record is just kept by the court. You ask for it, you can't see it. That's a very dangerous thing. So you can actually reinvent the role of stenographer. Every courthouse used to have that. You see it in the movies. Somebody whose job it is to sit in court and type what happens. Almost all court proceedings, there's some exceptions, some things with publication bans, family law involving kids, where you can't publish, or you can't publish everything. But there's no reason, with all the wonderful tools that we have now, that courts should be continuing to operate in near total secrecy. So the $1 million bill lying on the sidewalk is for anybody who wants to say to the courts, we're not attacking your judicial independence. This is just a trust but verify thing. We're just going to have people, not court employees, don't make the courts do it, because really they can't do very much. And what they do, they complain mightily about. But separate, whether it's private or whether it's a separate government agency whose job is sort of a new kind of court reporter. It doesn't require any legal training. It just requires somebody who, in the case of documents, knows how to scan. So any document that isn't privileged, any document that doesn't have a publication ban, anything that comes in or goes out of the court just gets scanned and made public. That covers a huge amount of the paper that comes in and out of courts. And in case of secret court proceedings, which is what I'm calling proceedings where they don't let you have the recording, to the greatest extent possible, have some version of a modern stenographer in the court getting a record of everything that happens. Nobody is going to have time to read all that information except for AI. You can give it to AI and say, hey, AI, in terms of cases over $1 million at issue, look for this pattern, look for this tendency. And what you're going to find is going to be extremely illuminating. You have to start thinking about judges as similar to cops. They're people with a lot of power. They're very necessary. But if a cop is doing something and you start recording them, and the cop says, citizen, drop the recorder, that's not the kind of country you want to live in. That's what you have in Canada in terms of judges. And that's what you have to break. You have to start thinking of judges as cops. You have your power, you have your generous benefits, you have your good job. But we're just going to see to the greatest extent possible everything you do. Everything you do that's public, where there's not a good reason why it should be secret, everything is going to be recorded, analyzed, quantified, measured. Because you have to know what you're dealing with before you can fix it. And that's something I haven't heard politicians talking about, but that's an important idea, I think.